Guys, the WWE hosted its annual Royal Rumble this past weekend. It turned out to have a very MMA feel about it, with former UFC champs Ronda Rousey and Brock Lesnar each claiming victory. Now, let's have a little fun here. Let's play UFC promoter. Vince McMahon has agreed to give you either Brock or Ronda, and they're going to have the right to have one fight in the UFC. Now, you're the promoter here. Which one do you take, and what fight do you make? Now, you're trying to make some cash. You're running a business, of course, but you can be selfish too. You're a fan at heart, so you can just put on something you personally want to see. That's fine too. You're the boss. So tell me, what do we do? Do we take Brock? Do we take Ronda? What type of matchup do we put them in? Let's get crazy here. Mike, 4 minutes on the clock. What do you do?
This is actually a more difficult question, I think, than we maybe make it out to be, just because it depends how you want to categorize what's important. Like, is Brock Lesnar a bigger star in MMA in 2022 than a Ronda Rousey comeback would be? I think Ronda, given her age and all the things like that, probably has less tread on her tires. I mean, she's not 44 like Brock. So I'd be inclined to maybe take her. I think she can sell a fight a little better at this point, especially given the skills she's probably picked up in WWE during that stint there. I'm sure, she could sell a fight before. I couldn't imagine what she could do now. And especially if you got like a nice rivalry, a nice angle to it that would be good for promotion. And to me, it's right there, slapping you in the face. A Juliana Pena fight, who obviously she was on The Ultimate Fighter when Rousey coached on Team Tate. And there was like some interesting moments there. I think, in terms of an actual matchup for Ronda Rousey, assuming that she has like the same skill set or hasn't, rapidly declined in terms of her fighting ability, I think a fight with Juliana Pena would actually be kind of interesting. Do I think she would be the favorite? Probably not, but I think if that fight hit the ground, she'd most certainly have a clear path to victory, as she does against anyone, and could probably hang in there in the striking. So I would take Ronda Rousey back. I think if we're actually looking at what might be most realistic, I think this could maybe happen at some point in the future. Like, I wouldn't rule out Ronda coming back to MMA. When it comes to Brock Lesnar, I think, he's done the comebacks. There's been the issues. I think he's probably done. So I'm taking Ronda. I think there's more upside there, and I think there's maybe more appeal to her coming back right now.
I'll be honest with you, that's the one that first occurred to me as well. I'm anxious to hear what everybody else has to say, though. Goes, what's your matchup?
Well, I didn't tell you guys this, but my first day at the UFC didn't go so well. There was a long line at the chow. You can only get one massage a day. I didn't really like it. So I called Scott Coker and asked him for a job. And as my first duty with Bellator, I am going to have Fedor Emelianenko fight Brock Lesnar. That's a fight that's always kind of intrigued me. It's got that USA versus Russia. We're not really giving a young buck to Fedor Emelianenko, but at the same time, it's a challenge. And I know that he likes challenges. It's something that he'll train for. Both guys will be super motivated. You do it in Russia. Pride, right? Pride never dies. That's usually our fault. And you got Brock Lesnar as a former UFC champion, so you can even kind of spin that a little bit. You can regain. Remember, it's been a while since Brock Lesnar's been in MMA, so you can regain some of these new wrestling fans that you see all the time. You can bring them over to MMA for a little bit, and then come on. I know when Fedor walks out, you get chills, but music transcends everywhere. When you hear Enter Sandman come out, I don't care what country you're in, you're going to put your beer up in the air and you're going to go crazy. And the fight is actually kind of interesting. I don't know who wins that fight. So that's the fight I'm giving you guys.
All right, you always kind of goes to think outside the box. Putting together that fight that we never got to see, I'm up for that. I can see that. Danny, how about you? What are you putting together?
I like that fight that Go suggested, but I'll throw a little bit of a less competitive bout your way, but maybe bigger as far as literally bigger and also promotion-wise, just probably a more lucrative matchup. Francis Ngannou. A lot of people forget that for a long time, Brock Lesnar was sort of the red panty knight of the heavyweights. Stipe wanted to fight with Brock Lesnar. Daniel Cormier wanted to fight Brock Lesnar. John Jones wanted to fight Brock Lesnar. Everybody wanted a piece of Brock Lesnar. Well, Ngannou hasn't been a happy camper in the UFC with pay, and as well as other things too. But look, if you're trying to get him into big fights and kind of amend things and have him sign another contract with the UFC, have Brock Lesnar fight him, right? You bring him in. I think the heavyweight division, there's not a clear contender right now, so it's kind of okay for him to skip the line. And it's obviously a big fight that would sell a lot. So I'll go Ngannou Lesnar for this one.
I love it. Red panty night for the heavyweights. It would bring in some money. That might be a nice way to mend the fences, right? Like, hey, Francis, I know it's been tough. How about we bring you this 45-year-old dude that you're probably going to kick his ass? Would that make it better? He'll sell 1 million pay-per-view buys. Maybe that would kind of make some common ground there, but it would definitely sell some pay-per-views.